Her body was found at a makeshift dump site below the Byram Swinging Bridge back in 1978.
In 2023, after years of waiting for justice and resolution, two long-standing cases finally saw significant progress. These cases had remained unsolved mysteries, leaving families and communities yearning for answers and closure. However, thanks to the dedication of law enforcement, advancements in forensic technology, and the unwavering determination of those affected, these cases resurfaced and captured public attention once again. Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let us look at the two old mysteries that are finally solved in 2023. In 1978, a young woman's body was found in a trash dump in Rankin County, Mississippi, but no one knew who she was. Even after a lot of work, the cops could not figure out who she was or what happened when she died. The case went cold and stayed unsolved for more than 40 years, until advances in DNA technology gave a glimmer of hope. In 2021, the case was put into the National Missing and Unidentified Person System in the hopes that it would lead to new information. But even with the help of current technology and NAMUS, the woman's name remained a mystery. When officials in Mississippi found out that a similar case in Ohio had been solved using genetic genealogy, it changed the course of the case in a big way. Upon making the discovery, the authorities sought permission to exhume the victim's body in order to gather further information. With the court granting their request, they meticulously collected and processed forensic evidence, recognizing its potential in unraveling the mystery. Showing a compassionate drive to solve unsolved crimes, Carla Davis generously funded the exhumation and subsequent investigative efforts. Even though the first two tries had failed, the case moved forward when it was brought to Othram Laboratories, a cutting-edge forensic lab with a track record of success. Scientists at Othram used forensic-grade genome sequencing to decode the DNA of the unnamed victim, which gave them a full family tree. Carla Davis, who is the chief genetic genealogist at Othram, spent a lot of time looking through public records and social media to find out if the victim had any relations. The search finally led to Tanya Lee Wills Mullins, who was a possible close relative of the victim. Tanya was born in Texas in 1956. She died at the age of 22 in a terrible way. People said that she had a kind heart and a beautiful singing voice. Tanya married Jim Mullins in 1973, even though his family was against it. Tammy and Crystal, their girls, were born to them. Tanya and her two children disappeared in 1978. Not long after they moved to Mississippi, Jim Mullins tried very hard to find them, but he couldn't. 40 years later, when Tanya's real name came out, her family and friends could finally rest easy. Tammy Mullins, who is now 49 years old, talked about how hard it had been for her family to find justice for her mother. With the help of investigative experts and new interest in the case, Tammy and Crystal went to Mississippi to honor their mother's memory at a memorial service. Now they want answers and justice, hoping that the person who did this will be held responsible for what they did. The fact that Tanya Mullins has been found shows how important investigative science and a constant search for justice are. It shows that even old crimes can be solved, giving families and communities who have been touched by crimes that have not been solved a sense of closure. As the investigation goes on, people are still hoping for answers and justice. The morning of May 13, 1997, began like any other day in Rockdale, Illinois, a town located approximately 40 miles west of Chicago. On a construction site, where workers and heavy equipment were moving trash and debris from a dusty dump, the sun was beating down hard. Kevin P. McGowan, an archaeologist from the well-known University of Illinois, was looking for hidden artifacts or historical items by carefully and quietly going through the layers of trash and waste. But he had no idea that he was about to find something much scarier and more upsetting than anything he could have thought of. When he looked through the trash piles with his trained eyes, he saw something strange. There was a bone that was different from the rest. It was in a dirty dump in Rockdale, Illinois. He felt happy as he carefully took it out of the mess. He was excited, so his heart was beating fast. It had been there for a long time because it was dirty and grimy. He gently cleaned it, revealing its real shape and size. The bone seemed to have its own story to tell, as if it knew secrets from a long time ago. But the more he looked at the bone, the more terrified he got when he realized it was a human bone. The researcher and his assistant found the bones of a person who had died. When an archaeologist digging in an unorganized part of Joliet Township found a human bone, the study turned into a full-fledged investigation. When the police showed up, there was a lot going on, so they blocked off the area to start their investigation. Right away, the police knew they were dealing with a murder case. Whoever put the body on the ground seemed to be trying to hide it from everyone. The body was buried without any ritual, which seemed cruel and brutal. Investigators knew the person was dead because they found only one bone. This means that the person had been cut up and their body parts were spread out in different places. They worked quickly because they wanted to find out the truth about this terrible crime. The search for answers had begun. They had a lot riding on their shoulders, and the risks were high, but they were ready to take on the tasks that lay ahead. When the town heard about the discovery, it was shocking, so the police started a thorough probe. Who died, and how did they end up in the garbage dump? Everyone was thinking about this. The investigation was difficult and not easy at all. It took several years of hard work, including many interviews and careful examination of scientific discoveries. The investigators were determined to solve the mysterious case. When the officers gathered around the lifeless body, they felt a mix of curiosity and fear as they looked at the gruesome scene. It was clear that someone had moved the body from its original place, which left the law enforcement officers wondering where the rest of the body parts were. Quickly, the area was closed off, and the cops were called to find out what was going on. With their knowledge and skills, they hoped to find any more skeleton parts that might help them figure out how to solve this strange puzzle. Even though the job was hard, they were determined to solve the case and get justice for the victim. Experts in investigations carefully looked through the area to find any evidence that was still there. They wrote down every step of the process carefully to make sure nothing was left out. Soil samples were taken, and the area was carefully searched for anything that could help figure out who the victim or the person who did it was. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, and the months into years, the case was still not solved. The victim's body parts were carefully kept until science and technology caught up with them and gave them the answers they so desperately wanted. There was finally an answer after more than 20 years. In 2020, a group of dedicated detectives chose to look into the case again using advanced DNA testing methods that were not available at the time of the first investigation. Experts worked hard in a lab to get DNA samples from the bones. The idea was that these samples would match up with DNA files that already existed and help find the victim. After a lot of hard work, a match was at last found. The DNA in the bones was the same as that of a person who disappeared in 1984. The victim was a 17-year-old high school student named Marie R. O'Brien. There was no sign of her anywhere. Marie's family was crushed when she went missing, and they never found out what happened to their beloved daughter and sister. Friends and family of Marie said she was smart, happy, and loved art. She was known for being kind and generous, and she was always happy to help. Her absence left a hole in the lives of the people who knew her, but now, 26 years later, they finally knew her name. Marie's family experienced a mix of happiness and sadness upon discovering her identity. Finding closure was bittersweet, as they had answers but had to face her tragic death. The investigation shifted focus to finding her killer, with ongoing efforts and community involvement. Marie's story emphasizes the importance of persistence and advancements in forensic science in uncovering the truth. Justice for Marie remains a hopeful pursuit. How do you feel about these situations? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Also, make sure to like this video, and subscribe to our station so you do not miss any new videos. Thanks for watching.